started videoing years ago, doing all my speeches. I think I have about 80 of them recorded out of my 200 and some that I've given to Toastmasters around the country. I picked a word which she just gave, which is called mystic magic. And it's all one word, mystic magic. And I came up with it. I'm sure it's been used before in our universe. I came up with it about 10 years ago. And I was doing a 4-year radio show on old men's stories. If you look, you'll see omensstories.com on the card there. Anyone that didn't get a card, there's some sitting in the back there. And I really was looking for something that would explain my journey. One of the things I found is I would walk down the street, something would happen magically. And I'd look and I said, wow, what happened? And then I'd go try to explain it, and it would disappear. Every time I used the words, I couldn't, after a while it sort of just faded. Now, have you ever had something that happened and you wanted to tell everyone about it? And it just, the words weren't right, it degraded from it, you just couldn't come up with the beauty of the occasion. Now, I've never met someone that really hasn't had this experience. So, when I did my radio show, I said, what are the main elements that we need for telling stories? And first of all, you need a new story. So I had 4 years, so guess what I had to come up with? 208 different subjects. And they all had to come out of my life. And the reason for it is I looked and I said, I listen to people telling stories, and they will sit and tell one story. Here's my life story. I talked to President Nixon, and I watched him, abdicate. I sat there, and that's it. And I said, stories are such an integral part of our lives. The more stories we come up with our lives, guess what? The more we love ourselves. And if anyone listened to my last speech, it was about loving yourself. So the more you remember about yourself, the more you love yourself. And everything in the world, everything in our world resolves around love. Okay? It's a practical application. Okay? If you look at people, you normally say, do they have a sound moral foundation for me to work with them? Everyone will do that. They'll do that, especially in business. Okay? But they'll do it in schools. They'll do it in relationships. Strong moral foundation, love. They're the same. So, the second story process I did, the first one was enthusiasm. I gave some principles of storytelling. One is enthusiasm. If you start and you're telling a story, be enthusiastic, because sometimes waving your arms makes up for a bad story. So I said, then the next one, I said, what's the next? I said, mystic magic. It's that one that falls out of the air. It's that one that's just there. I'll give you an example. I got my first degree. In fact, I just got a letter from my alumni group at St. Thomas College, St. Paul, Minnesota. And they said, what did you do with your degree in philosophy? And I was driving a truck at the time, so I did have an occupation. So I went home and I got down and I looked at it, and here was this letter. And it had a U.S. government on the outside. In 1962, they had the draft. I was going to join the U.S. government's military. No choices. Okay? So I ran down to the local recruiter. It was a naval air station in Minneapolis. I don't want to be a grunt and get killed in Vietnam on the road. And they said, well, right now, they said, we're taking tests for pilots. I said, that'd be fun. I said, I've never flown. I've never even been in a plane, but I'll take the test. And I passed it. And a year and 3/4 after that, I was flying jet planes off aircraft carriers. Now, you talk about a mystic magic moment. That's a mystic magic moment. Okay? And I've had all kinds of them. And what I found is high morals, love yourself, which means you totally love everyone, okay? And you know that everything is going to happen for the best. And sometimes it doesn't feel that way. And I've been through losing friends, and I've been through a lot on the other side of the fulcrum called I'm a happy guy versus, you know, today sucked. But I looked at it, and I look at it now. I'm just gone on my 78th birthday, and I say, man, I wake up in the morning, it is so nice to be alive. And what is the mystic magic going to happen today? So, my first 4 years, by the way, it started about when I was 70, as I had OMS stories. Well, at 74, I says, what am I going to do now? I had my 4-year radio show. And so I met this wonderful lady right here. It was in Mesa, okay? And I was coming from Minnesota and California, and her name was Angie Sanger. And she came and she sang these songs for me, and I had never been a music person. I said, man, I like that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a 4-year radio show on music. So I went and I said, man, I can get all these songs, and they said, I tried to put one in YouTube, and I got this big statement saying, we can't publish it. This is owned by someone else. So these singers that were singing, most of the singing. I says, well, what we will do for 4 years is I will find new songs every week. I will find 4 new songs by artists every week for 4 years. And I knew one singer. No, maybe 2. Okay? So, and the lady that runs our place in Mississippi, she says, well, you're never going to find. She's the one that already been running the other shows. She says, you're never going to find. I said, yes, I am. The universe does magic things if you do magic things for the universe. So, 4 years later, we just finished this last April. We had 4 new songs every week for 4 years. That's 208 times 4 is about 800 songs. Okay? And I said, wow, this whole thing is magic. So I said, what are we going to do next? I said, I am going to become one of the main gods of the universe. I am going to become bored. Boredom is one of the gods of the universe is boredom, okay? Love is everything, but the god of boredom sure does have its impact. All you have to do is sit around for about 3 hours and not do anything. So, I says, what are we going to do? Well, about a month ago, I met with Angie again. Now he came up here, and I says, Angie, we got to have something for our next project. What are we going to do on the next exciting project for us? And she says, us? What's this us, Roland? She says, I had the radio show. She said, I went along with it. She said, I never thought it would last 4 years. And I never thought we'd have like 800 songs. And she says, things seem to happen around you. that are magic. I think I got a word for what we're going to do. We're going to create 4 years minimum of something called mystic magic. And what we're going to do is we're going to integrate our storytelling and our music. And she says, how are we going to do that? I says, I don't know. I says, but that's the fun. How can there be mystic magic if you know what's going to happen? So this is our project coming up, a mystic magic moment. I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to integrate it into speaking. And so this is my first time of integrating it. You are my first audience in integrating mystic magic into a speech. Okay? Oh, the thing is, well, what I'm going to do to end and to give you a conclusion on just this short speech on it is I'm going to tell you a story and I'm going to integrate music. Okay? And it's sort of sad, but sort of happy. Well, and I'll look at you if you would like to participate if you know the song. So, I was at home, Silicon Valley, in my house up on a hill in the Bay Area, and in the front we got a major highway, in the back I got 5 miles of hills. But I was sitting in there with my wife and our housekeeper, and we were talking, and all of a sudden my wife fell over. Fell on the floor. What are we going to do? The song is going to go a little over. Okay. And so she helped me lift her and put her in the car, and when I looked over and I said, sweetie, you are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when the skies are gray. You will never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. So we went down to Washington Hospital, and they pulled her out of the emergency and put her on a gurney, and they walked in, and we went to the cubby holes that they stick them in, and they catch stuff for her. And I sat down at the chair next to her, and I looked at her, and she wasn't moving, but she was alive. And I held on to her hand, and I said, you are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when the skies are gray. You will never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. Well, that night, I was home alone. There's nothing more terrifying in life than having your best buddy and your love of 35 years gone somewhere and you don't know, and you go home and you're all alone. And I laid in bed. I woke up and I thought I saw her, and I was saying, you are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy, because skies, when skies are gray, you will never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. Well, the next morning I went back totally distraught and sad. And I walked in, and they says, oh, she's in this other room. And I got there. I walked in, and she says, get me out of here! And she was her own ornery self. And I said, I'll get you out right now. I went down, and I checked it out, and I was just thrilled and dancing around, and we went out, and we went driving home, and I said, you are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away.